So I guess everybody is aware of that dead game meme, and it doesn't really matter if the game still has 400 or 40,000 current players. The general state of a game is displayed or judged by only a handful of people, these days at least. However, some games suffer from a fate which is way worse than just being labeled a dead game, which is a state when the current player base, who is still playing the game, just doesn't care anymore. The game is what it is. Take it or leave it.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
In most cases, it is a very slow process and only noticeable when it is already far too late. Same as it once all started with a purchasable horse armor, slowly turning into a state of play where you are able to throw an infinite amount of money into a game. Or even worse, new game mechanics or features are introduced which receive a lot of positive feedback at the start, just to reveal its true nature to generate even more money or more likely drain the wallets of the customer. Just another cash grab idea, like that trading post in World of Warcraft. Anyways, in this video I don't want to focus on these cash grab mechanics. I actually want to take a look at game mechanics not related to that nowadays money making mentality. And to give you a little heads up, I will mostly focus on Guild Wars 2 and World of Warcraft, because these are games I am actually somewhat knowledgeable about. But either way, I don't think you need to know anything about any of these games. I think it counts for multiple games. To start things off, let me talk about Guild Wars 2. So recently Arenanets has started their new seasonal release system, which essentially means if you buy an expansion you unlock all the new content released throughout the time span of 1 year, and it is basically unlocked for your account forever. Anyways, what concerns me now, contrary to my previous opinion, which was more or less exclusively positive, is what Arenanets said in their latest blog post or studio update. The TLDR is, we are working on new content, we will still delay promises from years ago, aka the alliance system, and we might bug fix core issues. And what does that mean? Well, issues like the outdated LFG or matchmaking in PvP will never change or be improved in favor for new content. And with Arenanets' habit to abandon things, new content will arrive with bugs and issues, and these problems most likely will stay forever. And most likely the player base will accept exactly that. Yeah, the boss is bugged, but next week comes a new dungeon. Yeah, you can buy store skins, but there are also cool skins in game. Yeah, add-ons will make your PvP experience way better, but you can play PvP without add-ons, and so on and so forth. And right here something really bad happens. Negative parts of the game are ignored. On the one hand, because the player base doesn't care anymore, and on the other hand, developers start to focus only on major game-breaking issues. Kinda like serving the customer who yells the loudest, and all these small minor issues that are dropped under the table will add up over time. Once it was a horse armor, now you can buy in-game currency in nearly every game. And I guess that issue of slowly forming a pile of issues is best reflected in World of Warcraft.
That is one big pile of shit.
I mean, just look at the lore of the game. It essentially was a dark fantasy world defined by war, humans against orcs, a world shaped by war, but also impressive structures, major cities, and now the overall theme has flipped quite drastically to a state where it almost feels like, a joke. My personal guess is that the attention has shifted from creating a world to creating interesting characters, which has failed immensely. If we look at famous lore figures, for example figures like Arthas, who purged the whole city, killing his own people to become the Lich King, it wasn't necessarily about Arthas himself. He was more or less just a tool for the world around him to evolve, an immensely important character who later down the road just got randomly enchanted.
Be gone then, Arthas Menethil. May the last whisper of your name fade and be forgotten.
Another issue these days is that characters just cannot stay dead. Everybody needs to return in some way, so everybody gets happy or becomes emotionally invested. And this is definitely a modern writing issue. 5 or 10 years back, people in game were yeeted out left and right. And it is not just World of Warcraft. In Guild Wars 2's final chapter of End of Dragons, you have literally a date night, a couple date night after killing a giant demon. So I don't know what they are teaching in writing schools these days, but whatever it is.
Suck me sideways.
And yes, I get it that it is meant to be an intentionally small joke, but all these minor jokes are starting to kill the overall fantasy of a game up to a point where the whole game is just that, a collection of small jokes to be one giant joke itself. Furthermore, the problem with progression, which nowadays resembles the purest form of it doesn't matter what you do, so I don't care. Guild Wars 2 is a double-edged sword here, because due to horizontal progression your gear will stay relevant forever, which is essentially great because if you leave the game or quit the game for a couple of months or even years, you can hop straight back in if you want. However, on the flip side of the coin, when it doesn't matter what you do to progress, it quite literally doesn't matter what you do, up to a point where you might question yourself, why do I even play the game? And regarding Guild Wars 2 and Arenanets' new focus to pump the majority of resources into new content and therefore new grinds, it can end up pretty devastating, because at some point it will become too much and even overwhelming, especially for new players. And since Guild Wars 2 is a game with horizontal progression, the game becomes bloated with basically nonsense, and Guild Wars 2 is already unplayable without the wiki. And even games with a gear reset like World of Warcraft have the same issues of meaningless progression, thanks to catch-up mechanics. Well, yes, that new gear chase gives you somewhat of a line to follow and a to-do list and an easy understandable reason to play, but I also know whatever I do now, in 3 months I can get the same high gear score, way faster, without any effort. And I'm not talking about the expansion reset, I'm talking about the catch-up mechanics mid-season. So I basically could wipe all night long or wait 4 months to get the higher gear from the second or third catch-up mechanic. And yes, it is a nice feature to get back into the game, but it also makes progression some sort of meaningless. Nowadays in World of Warcraft the rate of gear upgrades is way too high. It is exhausting, same as boring over time. And now comes the main problem I want to point out, and trust me, someday my idea will be clear from the get-go. Even so, I like my vague explanations throughout my videos and pinpoint the main issue at the end myself. At least in some cases. Don't expect smart takes from me, I am a professional idiot. Anyhow, new content, catch-up mechanics, grinds, new skins and so on are great, but everything comes with minor problems, which transforms into one massive issue in the end, like way too much systems, meaningless grinds or worthless skins, mostly thanks to the in-game shop. The Warcraft universe has become one massive joke. Arenanets' dialogue with the player base is via email, and I'm not joking by the way, Arenanet literally sends occasionally emails about new content instead of making a trailer or a developer stream. And unfortunately, a lot of games have just become some sort of a money sink. And to sum it up, I think we now slowly reach a point where all these small issues strike back with full force in long-running games like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2, and the player base just doesn't care anymore. And that resign of the player base leads into an actually dead game. And when nobody cares, why should I? It is what it is. There is also another issue playing into that massive problem of denial, where as a big content creator regarding a specific game, you kinda have to say what people want to hear. Like Guild Wars 2, you have to be positive. Or World of Warcraft, you have to be negative about the game. Or you are just basically wrong. Anyways, that is maybe a topic for another video, and yeah, with that said, thanks for watching. Like always, share your opinion, be yourself unless you can be Batman, and until then, I guess, until then.
Let's say sunshine for everyone. But as far as I can